I stepped out of the prison gates, and the sunlight hit me like a slap I didn't expect. 15 years. 15 years I had waited for this moment, and yet it felt foreign. The air smelled the same, the streets looked the same, but inside me, everything had shifted. "Alex," a familiar voice called, cautious but warm. I turned, squinting. Mark. He looked older, hair graying at the temples, but his presence was steady, grounding. "Mark," I said, my voice rough. "Didn't think I'd ever hear you here again." He chuckled. "Somehow I knew I would. You got lucky, Alex. It's about time." I didn't answer. Luck had nothing to do with it. 15 years in a cell for a crime I didn't commit, Emma's crime. I felt my chest tighten, bitter memory clawing at me. "So, where do we start?" Mark asked, glancing at me like I was fragile glass. I shrugged. "Home." Mark's eyes narrowed slightly. "You're home. Alex, things have changed. People move on. You're not walking into your past untouched." I forced a laugh, but it sounded hollow even to me. "It's still my house, Mark. Still my life. I hope." We drove through the streets I had known since childhood. Everything looked untouched by time. The corner store, the park where I had played as a kid, the old cafe where Emma and I had our first date. Yet inside, I felt like a stranger. "I wonder," I said quietly. "I wonder if she—" I stopped myself. The word stuck. "Emma, don't let your imagination run wild." Mark said, "You've been gone 15 years. Things aren't the same." I clenched my fists, staring out the window. Things weren't the same. But the question gnawed at me. Had she moved on? Did she wait for me? Or had she already replaced me? We arrived at my old neighborhood. I hadn't realized how much fear I carried until I saw the house. My house. The familiar porch, peeling paint, the garden Emma used to fuss over. It was there. And yet, there was a new car parked in the driveway, shiny and foreign. My stomach twisted. Mark noticed my gaze. "I'll wait outside if you want to." "No," I interrupted. "I need to see this for myself." I walked up the steps, every creak of the wood under my feet echoing like a sentence. The door opened before I could knock. Emma. Her eyes widened, mouth slightly open. I barely recognized her. Time had changed her, softened her face in some ways, hardened it in others. "Alex." Her voice was a whisper, a tremor. "Emma," I said evenly, though my heart pounded like a drum. "It's been 15 years. She stepped aside, letting me in. The house smelled familiar but different. New furniture, new curtains, life had moved on without me. "You're here," she said, almost a statement, almost a question. "Yes, I'm here." I swallowed. I need to know. My throat tightened. "I need to know what happened while I was gone." She hesitated, eyes darting to the floor. "It's complicated, Alex. Things changed." I clenched my jaw. "Changed how?" Before she could answer, Mark's voice came from the doorway. "Maybe now's not the time, Alex. You need to—" "No," I interrupted again. "I need to hear it. From her." Emma took a deep breath. I didn't wait, Alex. Not really. I made mistakes." My stomach dropped. Mistakes? That word carried the weight of betrayal. My fists shook slightly, but I forced them to remain at my sides. "Mark," I said, my voice low. "Stay here." Mark nodded reluctantly and stepped back, leaving the room between me and her. "Emma," I said slowly, 15 years. I went to prison for you, for your choices. And now," I swallowed hard. "And now, what am I supposed to feel?" She bit her lip, eyes glistening. "I'm sorry, Alex. I thought you'd understand someday." I laughed, a hollow, bitter sound. "Understand? How could I understand? You let my life rot while you lived yours. You betrayed me." She flinched at the word, and for a moment, I almost felt pity. Almost. But anger surged hotter than any sorrow. "I don't know if I can forgive you," I whispered. "I don't know if I want to. But I need to know, did you move on?" Her silence was enough. My heart sank. And in that silence, I realized that 15 years had taken more than my freedom. They had taken my trust, my future, and maybe my life as I knew it. I turned to Mark, who gave me a small, cautious nod. The world outside had not stopped, and neither had the consequences of Emma's choices. I stepped outside again, looking down the familiar street. Everything was the same, yet nothing was. And I knew, deep down, that my journey had only just begun. I stepped onto the porch, heart hammering, but even before I could knock, I saw her. Emma, and she wasn't alone. She leaned against the doorway, laughing at something I couldn't hear. A man stood beside her, taller than me, broad-shouldered, calm, too calm. I froze, stomach twisting. Emma, my voice caught. She turned, eyes widening. Alex. I swallowed hard. Who's this? He stepped forward, a faint smile playing on his lips. Ethan Cole. Emma and I, we live together now. I felt the floor drop beneath me. Live together? I stammered. When did this happen? Emma's gaze flicked away, as if avoiding my eyes was easier than meeting them. Alex, spare me, I said sharply. I just walked out of prison, Emma. 15 years. 15 years and you, my voice cracked. You moved on? Ethan's tone was calm, almost amused. Look, Alex, I didn't cause any of this. But you're here now, so let's try to stay civil, okay? I wanted to shout, to throw something, to make him feel even a fraction of the chaos inside me. Instead, I just stood there, shaking. Civil. I repeated. After what she did, Emma's voice trembled. Alex, I'm pregnant. I blinked. My chest constricted. Pregnant. I barely managed to whisper. With? She nodded, tears brimming. Not yours, Alex. It's Ethan's. The words hit me like a blow to the stomach. I stumbled back, gripping the porch railing to steady myself. I could feel my pulse in my temples, each beat echoing like a drum of betrayal. I don't understand, I said, voice hollow. I gave 15 years for you. My throat closed, and a sob escaped before I could stop it. Alex, Emma stepped forward, tentative. I didn't plan. I never. I cut her off. Never what? Never cheat. Never lie. Never ruin my life. I shook my head, trying to make sense of her words. My fists clenched at my sides. Explain it to me, Emma. Please, explain how this happened while I rotted in a cell for your crime. Ethan's gaze met mine steadily. Alex, I get it. You've been through hell. I respect that. But she's my family now. I protect them. That's all you need to know. I laughed bitterly, the sound harsh in the quiet street. Family? So, while I was fighting for my life, you were making a new one. Emma flinched. Alex, I didn't know how to tell you. I was scared. I didn't want to hurt you. I thought you'd never come back. Scared, I whispered, voice shaking. Do you know what it's like to be locked in a cell, every day, thinking about the person you trusted, the person you loved? And you moved on. You built a life without me. Ethan took a step closer, his tone calm but firm. Alex, I know you're angry, and you should be, but threatening anyone won't bring your past back. You need to breathe. Let's talk. I shook my head violently. Talk? Talk about what? My wife, my life, my years stolen, and she's pregnant with another man's child? How can I talk? My knees felt weak. Emma's eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry, Alex. I truly am. I never wanted it to be this way. Sorry, I yelled, voice cracking. Sorry doesn't put me back in the world I left. Sorry doesn't erase 15 years. Sorry doesn't change anything. My hands went to my face as sobs racked me. I sank onto the porch steps, feeling the weight of betrayal crush me. Mark stepped forward gently. Alex, it's okay. Breathe. One step at a time. I can't. I whispered, burying my face in my hands. I trusted her. I trusted her, Mark. And she destroyed everything. My life gone. Ethan's voice softened. Look, I didn't want to hurt you. But Emma and I, we just started something. She didn't plan for this to happen while you were gone. It's not your fault, Alex. Please. Not my fault. I looked up, tears streaming. Not my fault. Do you know what it feels like to spend 15 years behind bars for someone else's choices? Do you understand what it's like to have your freedom taken, your trust shattered, your world ripped apart? Emma stepped closer, trembling. I never meant for this. You never meant for this? I spat, voice barely controlled. Never meant for this? You meant for me to go to prison. You meant for me to live 15 years in hell while you moved on. And now you're pregnant. With him. Ethan. I stopped, choking on my words, my mind spinning. Mark placed a hand on my shoulder. Alex, it's okay. We'll figure this out. One step, one day at a time. I pulled away, shaking my head. No, I don't. I don't know if I can handle this. My life is gone. My wife gone. My own gone. Everything is gone. Emma's tears fell freely now. Alex, please. I'm so sorry. I stood abruptly, voice low and trembling. Sorry isn't enough, Emma. Not now. Not ever. I turned to Mark. Let's go. I need to think. I can't face this yet. As we walked away, I glanced back at the house, at Emma, at Ethan, at the life that had moved on without me. A knife twisted in my chest. Betrayal, heartbreak, and disbelief. Every emotion I'd tried to bury for 15 years hit me all at once. And in that moment, I realized something dark and certain. My journey hadn't ended with my release. It was only beginning. I followed Emma and Ethan into the house, but as soon as the door closed behind me, I froze. 6 children. 6. They ran around, laughing, shouting, completely unaware of me, or maybe deliberately ignoring me. Emma tried to intervene. Alex, they're just children, I said, voice tight, cutting her off. All yours. All his. Not mine. Ethan stepped in smoothly. Alex, take it easy. They don't know you yet. Give it time. I clenched my fists. Time. How much time did I need to stomach this? To watch her laugh with another man, raise his children, while I lost 15 years of my life. A little girl, maybe 6 or 7, ran up to Ethan, tugging at his sleeve. Daddy, can we play outside? Ethan knelt, smiling warmly. Sure, Sophie. But let's finish homework first. I felt bile rise in my throat. I remembered Sophie, a name Emma had once whispered to me in some dream of a future we'd never have. That memory, sweet, soft, now twisted with anger. Mark leaned toward me. Alex, watch. Learn. Don't act yet. I can't watch. I whispered, teeth clenched. I can't. It's like a knife in my chest. Control yourself. Mark muttered. Revenge isn't about losing it now. It's about patience. I shook my head. Patience felt like surrender. Yet every time I opened my mouth to confront them, the words choked me. Instead, I watched. Another child, a boy, maybe 10, Liam, jumped on the couch next to Ethan. Dad, can we go bike riding? Ethan ruffled his hair. After dinner, okay? Homework first. I felt my fists tighten again. Homework first. Responsibility. Discipline. He had control. Control I once had over my life and my own home. I remembered the trial. Emma had stood there, smiling, speaking lies while I begged for justice. I had believed her. I had trusted her. And now this. A family. Not mine. Never mine. A younger boy, maybe 4, Noah, toddled over and hugged Ethan's leg. Daddy, read me a story? Ethan lifted him effortlessly. Of course, buddy. Let's find your book. Emma watched them, smiling faintly. Alex, they're wonderful kids. Wonderful for you, I muttered, voice sharp. Not me. Not mine. You built this while I rotted in a cell. 15 years. And you replaced me. She flinched, but her voice stayed soft. Alex, I didn't plan for it to be this way. I didn't plan. I repeated. You planned everything for yourself. You built a life, a family, a future. And I get nothing. Mark tugged at my sleeve. Alex, enough. Not here. Not now. But I couldn't stop. I felt the rage boiling, the betrayal pounding in my chest. I had to know. Had she ever missed me? Thought of me? Or was I just gone? A girl, maybe 5, Mia, skipped over to Emma. Mommy, can we bake cookies? Emma smiled faintly. Later, Mia. First, homework. I glanced at Emma. You're still her mother, but not mine. The words hurt more than I thought they would. A toddler, Ava, clung to Emma's leg, crying softly. Emma knelt and soothed her. Show, baby. Mommy's here. And then Ryan, the oldest, maybe 12, caught my gaze. He froze, as if sensing my presence, then darted away. Ethan's eyes followed him, calm but alert. Discipline, control, dominance. Mark whispered. Alex, observe. Their dynamics. His control. Her loyalty. Use it. I shook my head. Use it. The thought felt foreign, but dark satisfaction mingled with anger. I realized I couldn't just run away. I needed to understand this world they built without me. I remembered Emma during the trial. Her smile, her words twisting truth. My blind trust had condemned me. And now, this, 6 children, laughing, living, loving a man who wasn't me. I felt torn between fury and grief. Emma approached me quietly. Alex, please, don't leave like this. I want to explain. I don't want explanations, I said, my voice low, harsh. I don't know what I want. I feel nothing is left for me. Everything I had gone. She reached for my arm. Alex, please, look at me. I pulled away. I don't know if I can. I don't know if I want to. Ethan spoke then, calm, commanding. Alex, I get your anger, and you have a right to it. But if you want to stay here, you need to act like a guest. We can't undo the past. You can't undo it. I stared at him, fury mingling with helplessness. Undo it, I echoed. You don't get it. You weren't behind bars. You didn't lose 15 years. You didn't. My throat closed. I swallowed hard. You don't know. He did. Ethan did. He had control, and I was standing outside it, powerless. Mark stepped beside me. Alex, breathe. Observe. Feel. Learn. Plan. Not now, later. I turned away, scanning the children. Sophie was reading a book aloud, Liam helping Noah with a puzzle, Mia humming a tune while Ava clutched Emma's skirt. Ryan peeked from the hallway, quiet, wary. I felt a dark weight settle over me. Anger, grief, alienation, nostalgia, every emotion tangled together. And yet, buried beneath it all, a cold, determined thought formed. I would not let this world go unchallenged. For now, I watched. For now, I waited. But inside, I knew the reckoning was only beginning. I sat in the car after leaving Emma's house, hands gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. Mark didn't speak, just watched me, letting the silence stretch. I didn't want advice. I didn't want consolation. I wanted to scream. I can't believe this, I muttered, voice rough. 15 years, Mark, 15 years gone. For her lies. He stayed calm. You survived, Alex. That's what matters now. But you can't let anger destroy you. Destroy me? I laughed bitterly, though no sound left my lips. Anger? That's just the beginning. Everything I knew, everything I worked for, stolen. Mark shifted. You're seeing it as theft, but maybe it's also perspective. A chance to rebuild. Rebuild. I echoed, voice sharp. You don't understand. You weren't locked in a cell, smelling concrete every day, fighting to keep sanity intact. You weren't betrayed by the one person you trusted most. You don't know what it's like to wake up day after day, knowing your life has been erased. He didn't answer immediately, just waited. I needed him to wait. I needed to relive it. I remembered the first years of our marriage. Emma smiling at me over breakfast, pretending to care about my day. Alex, don't work too hard, she'd say. But little things began to prick at me. Small lies, hidden phone calls, excuses I never questioned. Do you remember, I muttered, the night before the fire? Mark frowned. Which night? The night it all changed. Emma was distant, avoiding me. I thought I was imagining it. I shouldn't have trusted her so blindly. I slammed a hand on the dashboard, voice low. 15 years of my life, because I trusted her. Because I didn't see the manipulation until it was too late. He stayed silent, letting me unravel. Prison had been its own kind of torment. Nights spent in the dark, listening to the screams and laughter of others. Solitude, so heavy it pressed down on me, pressing memories into every corner of my mind. I spoke to myself, sometimes, whispered reminders of who I was. Alex, you can't keep living there, Mark said softly. I have to, I said. If I don't remember, if I don't feel it, I'll lose myself. Prison, it took more than freedom. It took who I thought I was. It took everything. I remembered the cell fights, the guards who ignored me, the nights when I stared at the ceiling wondering if I'd die there, forgotten. And Emma, she'd walked free, living the life I should have had. Mark touched my shoulder. You're still you. You survived. That's proof you're stronger than you think. I shook my head. Stronger? Maybe. But I'm broken too. Impulsive. Trusting. Too soft where I shouldn't be. I let her control my fate. I let her destroy my life. You can't undo the past, Alex. You can only decide what comes next. I don't know if I want to decide. I admitted. Part of me wants revenge. I want her to feel the emptiness I felt. I want her life to fracture the way mine did. Another part, a smaller, quieter part, wants to leave it. Move on. Pretend none of this happened. But I can't. I can't pretend. Mark nodded. That's normal. You've been through hell. But you have choices now, real ones. You can act. You can plan. You can protect yourself. I let out a long breath, trying to steady the storm inside me. Protect myself. That's the thing. My life, it's not mine anymore. The world outside, it doesn't belong to me. Emma took it while I was gone. Ethan built on it. Those children, they're innocent, but they're part of the life I lost. Then make the next part yours, Mark said quietly. Don't let them define it for you. Don't let anger consume you. Use it, yes, but don't let it destroy you. I turned the key in the ignition, gripping the wheel again, feeling the weight of 15 years pressing down. I thought of Emma's eyes when I walked in, the smile she gave Ethan, the laughter of the children. Every detail etched itself in my mind. Every scar, every betrayal, every stolen moment. I don't know if I can forgive her, I said softly, more to myself than Mark. Maybe I can't. Maybe I shouldn't. But I have to live. I have to survive. I can't let this prison inside me last another 15 years. I can't. Mark nodded, saying nothing. He didn't need to. He understood. Survival was the first step. Understanding my rage, shaping it, using it, that would come later. I looked at the horizon as the sun began to dip behind the city skyline. Memories, scars, betrayal, they were mine. All mine. And they would either destroy me or forge me into someone stronger, sharper, colder if necessary. I won't forget, I whispered to myself. Never forget. But I have to move forward. I have to. Somehow. And in that moment, I realized something dark but true. My life had been stolen, my world had changed, and the path ahead would not be easy. But I was free. Free to act. Free to choose. And I would. I sat across from Mark in the small cafe. A stack of papers spread between us. My hands shook as I skimmed through witness statements, photos, and transcript from the old trial. 15 years. 15 years of my life ruined because of her. Alex, Mark said quietly, I've pulled everything Harper could give us. Look at the date on this statement. I leaned in, squinting. April 12th, that's the night of the fire. Wait, she signed this before the fire even started. Mark nodded. Exactly. She lied on purpose, Alex. Every word, every alibi, designed to point at you. My stomach twisted. I felt my pulse in my temples, rage building until my teeth ground together. She framed me. She knew exactly what she was doing. Every day I spent in that cell, she watched from the outside and smiled. Mark put a hand on my arm. Don't let it consume you yet. We need a plan. Think carefully. I shook him off. Plan? Mark, do you understand what it feels like to wake up every day knowing your life was stolen? To lose everything because of one person? And now she's here, laughing, living my life while I rot in someone else's hell. Mark's eyes softened. I get it, Alex. But right now we need facts, not just fury. I stood abruptly. Facts? I muttered. About facts. She betrayed me. Mark, she killed my life. I don't need more facts. Mark stayed calm. Alex, Harper could help. He believed in you back then. Maybe he can still help now. I rubbed my face. Harper, I whispered. The detective. He always suspected her, but he couldn't prove it. Mark nodded. He can now, with what we have. I clenched my fists. I want to confront her. Here. Now. Mark hesitated. Alex, think. You go in unprepared, it could backfire. She's dangerous. Manipulative. But if you confront her, it has to be controlled. Precise. I ignored him and drove to her house. The sight of it made bile rise in my throat. Ethan's car in the driveway. 6 children laughing in the yard. Emma standing there, brushing hair from her face. I parked and walked up the steps, fists clenched. Alex, she said, surprise in her voice. I didn't expect you here so soon. I stepped inside. Don't lie, Emma. Not to me. I know everything now. The statements. The lies. The alibis. You framed me. You sent me to prison for 15 years while you lived freely. Her lips trembled. Alex, I snapped, planned it all. Every word. Every lie. Every false witness. I trusted you, Emma. I loved you, and my voice broke. You destroyed me. She flinched, but her voice stayed soft, almost seductive. Alex, you're exaggerating. You don't understand. It was complicated. I was scared. I didn't know what else to do. Scared. I shouted. Scared? I spent 15 years in hell while you schemed. Every day, every hour, thinking I deserved it. And you smiled, didn't you? She swallowed hard. I never meant for this to happen. I leaned in, voice low and dangerous. Never meant? You meant it every day. You wrote the statements. You called the witnesses. You lied. And I rotted. Ethan appeared in the doorway, calm as ever. Alex, calm down. I know you're angry, but yelling doesn't change the past. And threatening her won't either. I looked at him, rage twisting inside me. Threaten? I don't need to threaten. The damage is done. She ruined me. You live in my life now. That's enough. Emma stepped back, eyes wide. Alex, please, don't make this worse. I didn't plan for any of this. I laughed bitterly. You never plan for consequences, do you? You just act and let the world burn around you. I went to prison, Emma, 15 years, and you walked free. Ethan's smirk was faint but noticeable. She's not the enemy anymore, Alex. The world moved on. You need to accept that. I shook my head, chest heaving. Accept that? I can't. Not now. Not ever. She stole my life. And now I know exactly what she did. And I swear, I will make her pay. One day. Not today, maybe. Not tomorrow. But the reckoning, it's coming. Emma's eyes welled with tears. Alex, please. I cut her off. No. Save your words. I don't need apologies. I need justice. Or vengeance. Call what you will. I'm done trusting. I'm done forgiving. I'm done pretending you didn't destroy everything. Mark's hand rested lightly on my shoulder. Alex, breathe. You said it yourself. Patience. Strategy. Use what you know, not just anger. I turned my glare to him, voice low and filled with fire. Patience? Strategy? Mark, she framed me for 15 years. I can wait. I can plan. I can be patient. And when the time comes, she'll understand what it feels like to have everything stolen. Ethan leaned back in the doorway, calm, almost amused. Careful, Alex. You might end up losing more than you think. I ignored him. I ignored them both. My mind replayed every lie, every betrayal, every moment I had lost. The rage inside me was a living thing, feeding on memories, sharp and bright. I clenched my fists, staring at Emma. This isn't over. Not by a long shot. One day, you'll see the consequences of what you did. And I'll be ready. Her lips quivered, but no words came. Ethan's smirk faded slightly, replaced by cautious curiosity. I turned to leave, voice cold and steady. I hope you sleep at night, Emma, because the day of reckoning is coming. And when it does, I'll be ready. Mark followed silently, watching me. You made your vow, he said softly. Now we wait. We prepare. But don't let anger blind you. I didn't answer. My heart pounded, adrenaline coursing through my veins. Betrayal had been exposed. Rage had been unleashed. And a promise had been made, silent, simmering, unstoppable. As I stepped back into the sunlight, I felt it in my bones. This wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. I sat across from Mark in his office. The papers and photos I'd collected spread across the table like pieces of a puzzle. My hands shook, not from fear, but from anticipation. Anger, grief, every memory of prison, every betrayal sharpened my mind like a blade. Alex, slow down. Mark said, voice calm but firm. This isn't just about anger. You have to plan carefully. One wrong move. One wrong move. I snapped, leaning forward. Mark, she stole my life. She destroyed me. One wrong move. I've survived 15 years in hell. I can handle one wrong move. He sighed. It's not about handling it. It's about being smart. Revenge isn't just shouting and pointing fingers. You want results, right? Yes, I said quietly, my teeth clenched. I want results. I want them to feel the weight of what they did. Ethan, Emma, I want them to see what it's like to lose everything. Mark rubbed his chin. And what about you? You still have to live. Don't lose yourself in the process. I looked down at the photos of Ethan at work, shaking hands with city officials, smiling for cameras. Perfect life. Perfect family. I imagined cracks forming in that perfect facade. Subtle, quiet, invisible at first. Psychological. Strategic. I'm thinking small, I said. First, isolate Ethan. Make him doubt himself. Make him lose control over the image he's built. Then, Emma. She'll crumble when she sees him falter. And if they fight good, chaos works in my favor. Mark raised an eyebrow. You're talking about manipulation, Alex. This isn't just justice anymore. You're stepping into dangerous territory. I shrugged. Justice didn't exist for me in prison. No one cared about the truth. So, maybe I'll create my own justice. He studied me for a long moment. I won't stop you. But remember this. Revenge can consume you. Make sure you don't cross a line you can't come back from. I'll control it, I said, voice firm. I've controlled 15 years of my life in a cell. I can control this. Mark leaned back, watching me with concern. All right, but patience, Alex. You can't rush it. You'll need allies, information, timing. And most importantly, he paused. You need restraint. I've got restraint, I said, though the truth was darker. My restraint was built on planning, not forgiveness. Anger and grief guided every decision now. They were my fuel. Over the next few days, I started observing Ethan's routines. His social events, charity meetings, casual interactions. I listened, took notes, and cataloged his weaknesses. His arrogance was subtle, but visible if you paid attention. He relied on appearances, smiles, and charm to mask insecurity. That's where I would strike. I watched Emma too. Her lies, her careful curation of truth, the way she positioned herself as loving and innocent in front of everyone. I remembered her words the day I confronted her. I didn't plan for this to happen. Lies. Every word. I would use those lies against her. Carefully, silently, like a surgeon with a scalpel. One evening, I sat across from Mark again, a coffee cooling in my hands. I've started planting seeds, I said quietly. Subtle questions, rumors, just enough to make Ethan second-guess his allies, to make Emma question who's on her side. Mark frowned. Seeds of doubt. Smart but risky. Don't let spiral. You're already emotionally charged. One misstep. I've calculated risks, I said, meeting his eyes. I know what they'll think, what they'll feel. It's psychological warfare, not chaos. For now, he studied me, concern etched deep. Alex, are you sure this isn't about vengeance consuming you? I stare at the table, the photos, the files. Maybe it is, I admitted softly. Maybe vengeance and justice are the same now. I don't know anymore. I just know I can't let them go unpunished. I can't let them live in comfort while I lost everything. Mark nodded slowly. Then at least be smart. Make them pay, yes, but make sure you're standing when the dust settles. You're not just fighting them, you're fighting yourself too. I laughed quietly, a bitter, low sound. 15 years taught me how to fight myself, Mark. I survived despair, humiliation, solitude. I can handle this. He leaned back, running a hand through his hair. Just don't let this become the only thing that defines you, Alex. You got a life to rebuild too. The revenge will come, but don't let it destroy what's left of you. I nodded, though my mind was already racing. I had identified allies in social circles, people Ethan trusted who could be influenced with careful nudges. I had discovered discrepancies in Emma's stories that could be subtly exposed. Every lie, every secret, every weakness would be a weapon. I'm ready, I said finally. I'll be patient. I'll be careful. But the seeds are planted. And when they grow, I paused, letting the thought linger. They'll realize what it's like to lose control. Just like I did. Mark looked at me, eyes heavy. Alex, just promise me you won't lose yourself completely. I promise, I said, though it was half lies. Half truths. The other half, rage, would guide me until the first move paid off. That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. Anger, grief, and strategy twisted together. I replayed every detail of Ethan's arrogance, Emma's lies, every moment of my stolen life. The plan formed in my mind like a living thing, precise, patient, inevitable. Revenge would be quiet at first, subtle, invisible, and then unstoppable. I closed my eyes, letting the dark determination settle into my bones. Justice had failed me for 15 years. Now, I would take it into my own hands, and I would not fail. I stepped into the small cafe where Carla Jenkins had agreed to meet me. Her eyes widened when she saw me, just as I had expected. Carla had once been one of Emma's closest friends, laughing at her jokes, defending her lies. But something in her expression told me she wasn't loyal anymore. "Alex," she said cautiously, sliding into the seat opposite me. "I didn't think I'd see you here." "I didn't expect to see you either," I replied. My voice was calm, almost casual, though every nerve in my body thrummed with tension. "But I heard you and Emma aren't exactly close anymore." Carla shifted uncomfortably. "It's complicated. She's always been self-centered. Takes what she wants, never thinks about consequences. I've grown tired of covering for her." I leaned in, lowering my voice. "Tired, huh? You realize she destroyed my life. Framed me for a crime I didn't commit. And now she's living everything I lost." Her eyes widened, a flicker of guilt passing over her face. I knew something like that happened. I didn't know how bad it was. 15 years? That's unbelievable. "I want her to pay," I said, letting the words hang. "Not just her, Ethan too. He's living in my world now, laughing, controlling, everything I should have had." Carla hesitated. "Alex, are you talking about revenge?" I smiled faintly, bitter. "Revenge. Justice. Call what you want. The point is, I need allies. People who remember the truth. People who maybe feel the same about Emma as I do." She swallowed, nodding slowly. I do. She used me sometimes. Told me I owed her, that I had to protect her reputation. I can't anymore." "Good," I said. "That's all I need. Information. Insight. If we play this right, I can make her regret every choice she ever made." Carla leaned forward, whispering. "I can give you names. People she's lied to, manipulated, burned. Some are still influential. Some vulnerable. All could be useful." I grinned, feeling a surge of excitement. "Exactly. That's what I need. Carefully, quietly, make the right moves, and her life starts to crumble without her even knowing why." We talked for hours, mapping out possibilities, weaknesses, small cracks to exploit. Carla was cautious, but I could see she wanted this too. It was like a spark being fanned into flame. Later that day, I met Ryan Blake at his office, a sleek, modern space that screamed wealth and influence. Ethan and Ryan had crossed paths many times in business, and I knew Ryan was ambitious, someone who would be willing to listen if he thought he could benefit. "Alex Morgan," Ryan said, leaning back in his chair. "Never thought I'd see you again. Heard the story, of course, 15 years locked up. Unbelievable." "Yeah," I said, "unbelievable and unfair. But that's past. What I'm interested in now is the present. You and Ethan have some business conflicts, right?" Ryan's eyes flickered with interest. "Maybe. He's aggressive, controlling, thinks he can run everything his way. But what's it to you? Let's just say I can help you leverage the situation," I said carefully. "Help you undermine him quietly. Make him second-guess allies. Make him lose credibility." He leaned forward, curiosity piqued. "You're serious? How?" I smiled faintly. "I have information, timing, insights, things only someone who knows him and knows the woman he married could exploit. We work together strategically. One misstep from Ethan, one subtle rumor, it spreads. Suddenly, he's unstable. People start noticing cracks." Ryan laughed softly. "You're playing chess." "Exactly," I said. "And you're a pawn or a knight, depending on how smart you are." He smirked. "I like this game. I'm in, but you better know what you're doing. One wrong move, and I'll cut my losses." "I know," I said. "That's why we move carefully. Timing, subtlety, patience." I left Ryan's office with a surge of satisfaction. My plan was beginning to take shape. With Carla's insight into Emma's network and Ryan's potential to disrupt Ethan's empire, the seeds of revenge were planted. Small, invisible steps, but the growth would be inevitable. Back at home, I reviewed my notes late into the night. Every lie, Every manipulation, every secret, each a weapon. My moral compass wavered as I plotted, wondering if I was still seeking justice or just feeding my rage. But the thought didn't frighten me. It sharpened me. Mark's voice echoed in my memory. Don't lose yourself. Revenge can consume you. I smiled faintly. Then let it consume them first. The first subtle success came within days. Ethan questioned a trusted associate after a casual rumor I'd planted through Ryan. The look on his face, doubt creeping in, irritation flashing, was intoxicating. A minor victory, but proof that the strategy worked. I had control, and it was exhilarating. I called Mark late that night. It's working, I said quietly. They're starting to crack. One misstep, one whisper, and the foundation begins to shake. Mark's sigh was audible through the line. Careful, Alex. Don't let small victories blind you. This is only the beginning. I know, I said, but it feels good to finally have power over them, to finally make them feel a fraction of what I've felt. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying and thrilling. I was no longer just a man who had survived 15 years in prison. I was the architect of their downfall, the shadow in their perfect world. And I would not fail. I parked a few blocks from Ethan's office, hands gripping the steering wheel, my pulse thrumming. Something in the air felt different. He was watching. I could feel it. Every time I moved, too confidently, too deliberately, I imagined him noticing. Every small whisper, every subtle shift in my routine, he'd be analyzing it. Mark's voice came to me from the night before. Patience, Alex. Don't give him reason to strike first. I muttered under my breath. Patience is a weapon too, Mark. And it cuts slower, but deeper. I slipped inside a cafe across the street, pretending to read the paper while watching Ethan leave his building. He paused, glanced around, and for a split second, just a flash, our eyes met. He didn't recognize me, but I knew the look in his eyes. Suspicion. Awareness. Later, I met Carla at a quiet diner. Ethan's tense, I said as she slid into the booth. He's sensing something. I can see in the way he scans the room, checks phones, asks questions. Carla nodded. You've unsettled him. That's good. But don't get careless. He's smart, and he has connections. I smirked faintly. I've been careful 15 years. I've survived far worse than a man who thinks he controls everything. I can handle this. She leaned closer, voice soft. Still, don't underestimate him. He notices patterns. He's good at piecing things together. I know, I admitted, but I've got time on my side, and I've got allies. It's enough to keep him off balance for now. That night, I returned to my apartment and found a memory resurfacing, a letter I had written in prison, a letter never sent, never intended to be read by anyone but me. I remembered folding it carefully, pouring my soul onto the page, my anger, my pain, my longing for the life I lost. My words had been raw, honest, and desperate. And now, I realized how it had been used against me in the trial. Emma had taken fragments of that letter, twisted them, presented them as evidence of instability, of guilt. My own words had betrayed me. I pressed my face into my hands. 15 years, I whispered. 15 years lost, and even my own thoughts turned against me. Mark called later. Alex, you okay? Remembering, I said slowly. The letter. How she used it. How every vulnerability I ever had was weaponized. Anger's natural, he said softly. But don't dwell too long. Use it. Channel it. I'm trying, I said. But it's hard. The guilt. I keep thinking, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe revenge. It's going to cost me everything. Mark didn't answer immediately. I knew he understood. You'll pay a cost, Alex. That's the truth. Revenge always does. But sometimes it's the only way to reclaim what was stolen. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. The memories of prison crept in. The cold walls, the endless days, the fights I survived, the nights I cried alone. Every scar, physical and mental, had hardened me, yes, but every scar also reminded me what I had lost. The temptation to act recklessly was almost unbearable. I wanted to storm into Ethan's office, confront him directly, make him understand what I felt, what I endured. But Mark's warning lingered. Patience. Control. Timing. I recalled Carla's warning too. He notices patterns. So I waited. I observed. I planted subtle seeds of doubt, allowed small disruptions in Ethan's routine to occur without direct interference, letting the chaos appear organic. One missed meeting, one unclear instruction, one hesitant glance from his associates. I watched it all, savoring the ripple effect. Yet, in the quiet moments, I felt the weight pressing down. Revenge wasn't just about them. It was about me too, reshaping my own soul in darkness. I realized that every clever maneuver, every manipulation, every subtle strike meant I was bending my own morality. I was no longer just the wronged man. I was becoming the instrument of destruction. That night, I found myself standing at my apartment window, staring at the city lights. I thought about the letter again, my words twisted against me, and wondered if my current path was any different. Was I seeking justice, or simply satisfying a need for retaliation that would never end? I whispered into the night, "It's coming. But I have to survive it too. I can't lose myself in this. I won't." Mark's voice lingered in my mind. "Don't let anger blind you." I exhaled slowly, feeling the tension in my shoulders ease just slightly. Patience, observation, timing. I would strike when the moment was perfect, not a second before. The thought steadied me. I realized revenge, like a slow-burning fire, needed careful tending. Too much heat, and it burns everything, including yourself. The cost was clear. I would pay it in sleepless nights, in moral compromise, in emotional turmoil. But I had survived worse. I had endured more, and I was still standing. I picked up the unsent letter, folded it carefully, and placed it back in its envelope. The word remind, yes, but now they were a reminder. My pain, my betrayal, my drive. I would let it fuel me, not destroy me. I sat back, letting my mind calm for a moment, listening to the quiet hum of the city. The tension would build. Ethan would notice. Emma would worry. And when the time came, I would be ready. For now, patience. For now, preparation. For now, survival. And someday, justice would be mine. I watched from my car across the street as Ethan walked into the conference room, confidence radiating from his every movement. He didn't know I'd already planted the seeds that would make this day chaos. The documents I had quietly leaked to his top investors detailed the unethical business deals he'd been hiding, enough to shake their trust and make the house of cards start crumbling. Mark's voice echoed in my mind. "Patience, Alex. Timing is everything." I smiled faintly. Timing had never been my problem. Focus had. And today, focus would serve me well. The first email went out early that morning, disguised as an internal audit summary. Within minutes, messages began flying between the investors. Whispers turned into tension. Tension turned into suspicion. I stayed in the car, phone off, just observing, listening, imagining the panic inside the boardroom. Later, I drove slowly past Ethan's house. The windows glowed with lights, children's laughter drifting faintly, but it didn't mask the tension inside. I saw Emma in the living room, pacing, hair tied back, lips pressed tight. Something in her stance, rigid, anxious, told me the news had reached her. I stepped inside later that evening, a polite knock at the door barely noticed until Emma appeared. "Alex," she said, surprise and concern mixing. What are you doing here?" "I came to see how the day went," I said softly, leaning against the doorframe. "I hear it's been eventful." Her lips pressed together, and she glanced at Ethan, who sat at the dining table, phone in hand, eyes flicking rapidly between messages. "It's complicated," she said finally. "Some investors are questioning him, doubting him. He's tense." I studied her carefully. Not fear, not exactly, but concern. The kind of fear that comes from losing control, from realizing the foundation you've built isn't as stable as you thought. "I see," I said quietly. "And how do you feel about that?" Her eyes flashed, a mixture of guilt and frustration. "Alex, you don't understand. This isn't just business. It affects everything. Ethan, the children, our lives." I tilted my head. "Our lives? Your life? You moved on, Emma. You built this life while I was gone, and now it's shaking." She flinched, but her voice stayed steady. "Yes, but you can't just interfere. You can't destroy him. You don't know what it means to keep a family together. I laughed softly, bitterly. Destroy him? No. I'm revealing the truth. Just the truth. The chaos you feel? That's only the beginning of understanding consequences. Ethan's head snapped up, eyes narrowing as he noticed me. Alex, he said, voice low but tense. What are you doing here? I stepped closer, keeping my tone calm. Just checking in, seeing how the man who ruined my life is handling a little adversity. He rose from his chair, anger flashing. You had something to do with this, didn't you? Tell me it wasn't you. I smiled faintly, letting the tension sit between us. I don't need to take credit. The truth speaks for itself. Emma's hand rested lightly on Ethan's arm, a silent attempt to calm him. Ethan, maybe we can handle this quietly. No one needs to panic. No, Emma, I said, voice low, deliberate. They need to see it. They need to feel the weight of what happens when you hide, when you manipulate, when you take advantage of others. Ethan's face went pale. Alex, this isn't a game. You can't. I don't play games, I said firmly. I survive. I endure. And I correct wrongs when I can. Emma stepped forward, voice trembling slightly. Alex, please. Think about the children. Think about what you're doing. This isn't just about revenge anymore. It's personal. And you're hurting everyone. I met her eyes, seeing complexity I hadn't noticed before. Fear, yes, but also guilt, frustration, and love tangled together. She wasn't just a villain or a victim. She was human, conflicted, trapped in a life she helped shape. That realization struck me sharply, and for a brief moment, I felt melancholy mixed with satisfaction. Yes, I said quietly. It's personal, but so is what she did to me. So is what he built on my life while I was gone. Don't confuse morality with justice. They're not always the same. Ethan's hands clenched into fists. You think this changes anything? You think a few emails can destroy what I've built? It doesn't have to destroy everything, I said, voice even. Just enough to make you question yourself. To see cracks where there were none. That's the first strike. The first realization that actions have consequences. Emma's shoulders slumped, and she whispered, Alex, I didn't know. I didn't think it would. Of course you didn't, I said softly, voice edged with both sorrow and resolve. You didn't think about me. You didn't think about the consequences for anyone except yourself. And now, the world you've built is feeling that truth. Ethan stared at me, jaw tight, eyes dark. This isn't over. I nodded slowly. No, it isn't. But neither is justice. Or revenge. Emma's gaze lingered on me, conflicted. I could see it. The fear, the realization that control was slipping, that she couldn't manipulate outcomes as easily anymore. And for a brief moment, I almost felt pity for her. Almost. Then I turned, leaving the room quietly. My pulse still thrummed, a mixture of adrenaline and melancholy settling in. Satisfaction mingled with the knowledge that every step I took forward carried a personal cost. Every victory was edged with isolation, every strike weighed by conscience. But I was alive. I was free, and the first strike had landed. And for the first time since leaving prison, I felt that my life, my choices, and my vengeance could coexist. Pain, satisfaction, and melancholy intertwined, shaping me into someone who could finally, deliberately, take control. I sat alone in my apartment, the city lights casting long shadows across the walls. My phone vibrated, messages from Carla, Ryan, even Mark. I ignored them all. I didn't want to talk. I didn't want advice. I didn't want reality. I just wanted the satisfaction of seeing Ethan and Emma unravel. But even as I sat there, a quiet unease crept in. The first warning came that morning. I had subtly exposed a minor financial misstep Ethan had made. The investors began asking questions, murmurs spreading. I smiled when I read the email updates. Then my phone rang. Alex. Carla's voice sounded strained. Something happened with the kids. I froze. What? Which kids? All of them. Sophie, Liam, Noah, Mia, Ava, Ryan. They were playing near the driveway while Ethan and Emma argued. One of them, Ryan, he got hurt. He's okay, but Her voice trembled. They were scared, Alex. They didn't understand. Your moves, they're scaring them. I felt my stomach twist. Scaring them? Carla, I'm not trying to hurt the kids. I know, she said softly, almost pleading, but your revenge it's spilling over. You're tearing their world apart. Even the innocent can't escape it. I sank into the couch, face in my hands. Rage, grief, and guilt collided. 15 years in prison had hardened me, yes, but I hadn't expected my vengeance to touch innocent lives. I thought about Emma's children, her 6, all born into a life I had no part in until now, and yet now my actions rippled into their small world. Mark's words came to me unbidden. Don't lose yourself, Alex. Revenge can consume you. I whispered to the empty room. Am I just like her? Carla called again, sensing my silence. Alex, talk to me. Please. Ryan's fine, but the other kids, they're shaken. Emma's terrified. She's not blaming you yet, but this is dangerous. You have to stop, even for a moment. I leaned back, staring at the ceiling, trying to breathe. My moral compass had blurred. I had sought justice, yes, but maybe I had crossed into something else. I was starting to manipulate lives too broadly. I was starting to replicate the very sins I condemned in Emma. Later, I confronted Ethan. He was pacing in the living room, phone in hand, fury barely contained. You did this, didn't you? He barked. This chaos, the investors, the letters. You're tearing my family apart. I met his gaze calmly. I didn't touch the children. I'm focused on truth, on accountability. You made choices, Ethan. Consequences follow. He shook his head, voice rising. You don't get it. Your actions, they have side effects. Innocent people are hurt. My kids, your obsession is destroying more than you know. I didn't want this, I said quietly. I wanted justice. I want a balance. Not pain for the innocent. I see now that line. I've crossed it. Emma appeared then, hair loose, eyes wide, voice trembling. Alex, I know you feel wronged. I know you're hurt, but please, the children. They don't deserve this. They aren't part of your war. I swallowed hard, the weight of their fear pressing into me. You're right, I said softly. I've been so consumed with my own loss, my own anger. I forgot that my actions affect more than just them. I forgot what it means to survive without destroying others in the process. Ethan's anger softened slightly, though suspicion remained. So what now? You stop. I nodded. I stopped, partially. Not because I forgive, not because I forget, but because I have to remember the bigger picture. Survival, emotional strength, protecting what's innocent. That's more important than total vengeance. Emma's voice cracked. It's hard to believe, but I hear you. You're still human, Alex. Even in this. I hope I can remain human, I whispered, almost to myself. I've seen what rage can do to a person. I've lived in it for 15 years. I can't let it take me now. Not when others' lives are at stake. Carla's voice came through again. Alex, promise me you'll be careful. For the kids' sake. For your own. I promise, I said, feeling the weight of it. Promise, not plan. That was all I could do. For now. I sat in silence, thinking about the small figure of Ryan Blake, the little boy who had tripped and fallen, terrified of consequences he could not understand. My eyes watered, and for the first time in weeks, I allowed myself to grieve, not for my lost life, not for betrayal, but for the ripple of pain my vengeance had caused. I thought about Emma, complex, flawed human. I thought about Ethan, arrogant, ruthless, but flawed too. And I thought about myself, the man who had survived 15 years, the man who had returned to a world he no longer recognized, the man who had almost let vengeance eclipse everything else. I realized then that survival wasn't just enduring prison. Survival was navigating life without becoming a monster. Revenge could wait. Patience was now not just strategy, it was protection. I whispered into the quiet room. I won't let this break me, or them. Not completely. I'll find balance. I'll regain control, but I'll be careful. I'll be stronger, not just clever, but human. And as I sat there, listening to the distant hum of the city, I felt the weight of my choices pressing down, heavy but necessary. For the first time, I understood that power without boundaries could destroy more than those it was meant to punish. I knew now. Vengeance carried a price. But learning that price, that was the start of true strength. I exhaled slowly, letting tension leave my shoulders. Survival, patience, and emotional strength. These would be my focus now. The children's laughter, even in the background of chaos, reminded me why. And for the first time in weeks, I allowed myself a quiet hope that I could be both avenger and protector, human and strategist, without losing everything. I watched the news in stunned silence, a mix of satisfaction and melancholy curling in my chest. Ethan's empire, once untouchable, was crumbling in real time. Investors withdrew overnight, clients canceled contracts, and social media buzzed with whispers of his unethical deals. Karma, long delayed, had finally arrived. Mark's words from months ago echoed in my mind. Justice is slow, Alex. But when it comes, it hits harder than anger ever could. I didn't feel triumphant, not entirely. Watching a man fall didn't erase 15 years lost. It didn't heal the betrayal, the pain, the silent nights in prison. But it was a step, a tangible one. My phone buzzed. Carla's message was short. It's happening. Ethan's collapsing. Be careful with Emma. I exhaled slowly and made my way to their house. The driveway was empty, the front door slightly ajar. I entered quietly, my footsteps echoing in the living room. Emma stood near the window, hands clasped, face pale. She looked smaller than I remembered, diminished by guilt and fear. Alex. Her voice was soft, almost tentative. I didn't respond immediately. I let her words hang in the air. I let the silence speak. 15 years of betrayal, manipulation, and lies had led us here. Now the balance was tipping. I never wanted this, she whispered finally, eyes glistening. I thought I was protecting us. I thought I was doing the right thing. I took a slow step closer. Protecting us? You left me to rot in prison, Emma. You let him take everything. My freedom, my dignity, my life. And now you talk about protection? Tears ran down her cheeks. I was scared. I made mistakes, terrible mistakes. I'm sorry, Alex. I never stopped thinking about you. About us. About what I took from you. I felt my chest tighten. Part of me wanted to forgive, to reach out, to ease her pain. But another part, the part that had survived, that had endured the loss, the injustice, remained sharp, wary, and cold. I survived because I had to, Emma, I said quietly. Because I couldn't trust anyone, including you. You destroyed me. You broke me. And it's too late now. She swallowed hard. I know it's too late. I just needed you to hear me say it. I'm sorry. I looked away for a moment, noticing the stack of old letters on the table. Letters I had written to her in the early days, filled with hope and love, now symbols of betrayal. I picked one up, fingertips brushing the paper. The ink was faded, but the words remained. Words of devotion, of trust, a belief in something that no longer existed. You see these? I asked softly, voice trembling with restrained emotion. I wrote these. I trusted you with my life. And you turned them against me. Emma's gaze dropped to the floor. I was weak. I was selfish. I wanted security, control. I didn't realize what it would cost you. I set the letters down carefully and reached for a lighter. Cost me? You think words can measure cost? Try 15 years, Emma. 15 years in a cage for a crime I didn't commit. That's the cost. The flame flickered as I touched it to the stack of letters. I watched the paper curl and blacken, smoke curling toward the ceiling. Each letter consumed by fire was a memory released, a wound closed, a chapter ended. Emma flinched. Alex, no. Those letters. They're not just letters, I said, voice firm. They're reminders. Reminders of trust misplaced, love betrayed, and my life stolen. I burned them for me, not for you. Closure isn't a gift. It's something I take for myself. She didn't speak. She could only watch as the flames consumed the last fragments of my past, each crackle a punctuation to years of pain. I turned to her finally. Do you understand now? Betrayal doesn't just hurt the moment. It reshapes you. It forces you to grow, to harden, to survive. And I survived. I didn't just endure 15 years. I transformed. I became someone capable of observing, calculating, and enduring even more than before. Her lips quivered. I see. I see now. I never wanted to break you like this. I thought love was enough. But I see now that love isn't always enough. And I don't expect forgiveness. I shook my head slowly. Forgiveness isn't for you. It's not for anyone else. It's for me. And I don't feel it for you. I feel closure, relief, strength, and maybe sadness. That's all I have left. Emma nodded silently, tears falling freely now. I'm sorry, she whispered once more. I truly am. I exhaled, letting the weight lift slightly. The room smelled of smoke, of charred paper and memories. A symbolic moment, yes, but also real. I had reclaimed a piece of myself, marked the end of something that had haunted me for decades. Outside, the world continued. Ethan's downfall was unfolding on screens, in boardrooms, in whispers of gossip. Justice delayed had arrived, and I had been patient enough, strategic enough, to ensure it hit without destroying the parts of myself I refused to lose. Mark's voice came to me once more, echoing the lesson of months past. Survival isn't about vengeance alone. It's about integrity, restraint, and strength. You've learned that, Alex. Remember it. I nodded quietly to the empty room. Yes, I had learned it. I had survived. I had transformed. Betrayal had forged me into someone stronger, someone cautious yet deliberate, someone capable of facing the ruins of his past without falling apart. I glanced at Emma one last time. She would live with regret, with awareness, with the truth that some things couldn't be fixed. And I would live with the knowledge that I had endured, that I had reclaimed control, that I had taken the pain and reshaped it into strength. The letters had burned. The past had been honored and released. I could finally move forward, not entirely free of scars, not entirely untouched by rage, but alive, resilient, and aware of my own capacity for survival. And I knew this. Karma had its course. Betrayal had its consequences. But I, Alex Morgan, had forged my own path through it all. Stronger, wiser, tempered by fire, and finally capable of facing whatever the future held. The smoke curled into the ceiling, rising and disappearing, and I exhaled, feeling the last remnants of old pain lift with it. The world outside continued, chaotic, unfair, beautiful. And I would continue too. I sat on the porch of my small apartment, sunlight washing over me, and let myself breathe. The city moved around me, indifferent, alive, unaware of the battles fought and won in silence. 15 years. 15 years of stolen time, betrayal, rage, and survival. And now freedom. Real freedom, not just the absence of bars. Mark called earlier, his usual dry tone tinged with warmth. Alex, you okay? You've been quiet. I'm fine, I said, though quiet was the closest I could get to saying it all. I've survived worse than quiet. And now it's peace I want. Peace, huh? His chuckle came through the line. Sounds almost foreign for you. It is, I admitted, but it's earned. Finally, I thought about Emma, about Ethan, about the children. My actions had reshaped their world, and now they were navigating consequences they didn't choose. But I'd learned my lesson. Vengeance was satisfying, yes, but innocence deserved protection. I had almost lost myself in anger, almost repeated her sins. I couldn't let that happen again. Carla stopped by earlier with a brief, knowing smile. You look different, she said. Calmer. I nodded. I am. Stronger, too. I've faced betrayal, imprisonment, and loss. I've survived them all. And I've learned that strength isn't just revenge. It's knowing when to stop, when to hold back. You're really going to step back? She asked softly. I have to, I said. I can't intrude, can't undo everything that happened. But I can remain present, distant, but caring. I'll let the children grow, let Emma live her life, and I'll protect my own soul. Mark's voice returned in my thoughts. Freedom isn't the end, Alex. It's the start of everything you rebuild. I thought about rebuilding. Not the empire Ethan had, not the life Emma had stolen from me, but my own. Something quiet, simple, meaningful. Something mine. That evening, I drove past her house. From a distance, I watched the children play in the yard, laughter spilling into the late afternoon sun. I felt a pang. 15 years ago, I had dreamed of this, of family, of love. Not this life exactly, but the happiness, the innocence, the connection I'd been denied. I whispered to myself, they deserve this. And I'll let them have it. I'll step back. Emma appeared in the doorway, looking out, watching the children. Our eyes met for a brief moment. No words were exchanged, but I saw acknowledgement, regret, understanding. The past wasn't erased, but the present could still be lived. I thought of all the conversations we'd had, all the confrontations, all the rage and heartbreak. Every word, every moment had forged me, strengthened me, reshaped me into someone who could endure without collapsing, who could act without being consumed. I remembered the letters I had burned, the symbolic act of closure. I let go of my past with her, with him, with betrayal itself. The fire had purged more than paper. It had purified my intent, clarified my focus, freed my heart. Later, I met Mark at a quiet cafe. He didn't ask about revenge. He knew it was done. He asked instead, "What's next, Alex?" I sipped my coffee, feeling the warmth seep in. "Life," I said simply. "I'm going to live it. Carefully, thoughtfully, and maybe quietly happy." He raised an eyebrow. "Quietly happy? That doesn't sound like you." I smiled faintly. "It doesn't have to. I've spent 15 years surviving extremes. Now, I just need to exist, to breathe, to move forward without carrying the weight of every betrayal and every anger." "You've earned that," he said. I nodded, watching the sunlight reflect off the window pane, thinking about the city, the world, the people I had lost, and those I had yet to meet. Freedom wasn't just leaving prison. It wasn't just taking revenge. Freedom was reclaiming control over my life, my choices, my emotions. It was saying no to rage when it threatened to consume me, saying yes to myself. Later that evening, I called Carla. "I'll check in," I said, "but from a distance. I need to be careful." "Of course," she said. "You've done enough. Let the world settle now." "I will," I promised. "And I'll make sure I'm present when it matters. But I won't interfere unnecessarily. They're innocent. I won't let them pay for what I endured." I ended the call and stepped outside. The sky was painted with the soft reds and golds of dusk. I inhaled deeply. The air smelled of possibility, of calm after chaos. It was a small thing, but in that moment, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, unburdened. I whispered to the wind. I survived. I endured. I reclaimed myself. And now, I am free. The children's laughter carried faintly from a distance, a reminder of innocence preserved. Emma and Ethan's world would continue without my interference, without my hatred shaping it. And I would continue too, with the lessons etched into my soul, the pain transformed into wisdom, the past acknowledged but no longer binding me. As night fell, I locked my apartment door, turned off the lights, and sat by the window. The city hummed, unaware of the intricate battles, the betrayals, the vengeance, the reconciliations that had shaped lives behind closed doors. I let myself smile faintly, not the careless smile of a naive man, not the bitter smirk of a vengeful one. This was quiet, reflective, contented in its own way. I had survived prison. I had faced betrayal. I had enacted revenge. I had protected the innocent. I had reclaimed my heart. And now, I was finally free.